Don't just think that if you make a certain amount of money that you don't qualify for the Chapter 7.
Do you know what the means test is when it comes to qualifying for bankruptcy? Well, we're going to find out right now because that's what we're going to ask the lawyer. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com. My guest is Dallas attorney David Shuster. Before we get into the questions, I want to remind you, if you want to ask questions about your specific situation, just head over to AskTheLawyers.com, click the button at the top of the page that says Ask a Lawyer, and you can do your asking right there. David, good to see you again. As always, thank you for helping us out.
Yeah, likewise, Rob. Thank you.
So tell us, let's just start at the beginning. What is this means test and what does it tell you?
The means test tells you essentially if you have the means to repay creditors. It's a formula that was put into the law it's been around at least since 2005. And this thing will determine if you have the means to repay creditors or if you will be eligible for a Chapter 7 fresh start without having to repay creditors any of your income.
So there are two parts to the means test, right? Does somebody have to pass both parts in order to qualify?
Well, essentially, no. You have to, if you pass the first part, you're good. If you are a household of four, and when I say a household of four, I mean, they have to be occupants of your house, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse and two kids, the nuclear family. It can be that your brother moved in, that your mother-in-law moved in, your child moved back from college and you're helping them out. But as long as they're not contributing to the household expenses and they are in fact dependents in your household, they like to call them heads on beds. So if you got four people in your house, four heads on the bed that you're essentially responsible for supporting, then you can make up to $88,000 in Denton County, and that passes the first part of the means test if your total gross income does not exceed $88,000, for example.
And what about part two? What is part two?
Well, if it does, then it doesn't mean that you're not eligible. So it's a good threshold determinant if you think, oh, okay, well, geez, I mean, and by the way, this is based on the last 6 months of income. Okay. So if you had 6 months of income of $88,000 gross or less, oh, okay, well, I can do this Chapter 7 thing. It's a no further complex considerations for me. But if you make more than that, and even if you make a lot more than that, let's say $120,000, or if you and your spouse both work and you make $140,000. Okay, so the point is you're above the threshold level. There's a lot of other detailed expenses that this formula allows you to deduct to then qualify you for the Chapter 7. And so that's the kind of thing you want to walk through. I mean, you're going to have to walk through with an attorney to do this. And what I like to tell clients, Rob, is don't just think that if you make a certain amount of money that you don't qualify for the Chapter 7.
There's a lot more involved than just what.
There's a lot more involved, and there's a lot more to talk through. And there's, these expenses are very specific. I mean, they include things like child support, child care, medical support of an elderly family member. So there are all kinds of things to consider that expenses that are necessary that you can use to deduct. And the theory behind it is great. I mean, is it better as a society and for your family to be taking care of medical expenses, taking care of necessary costs of living, and instead of trying to repay unsecured debt? Yes, it is. It's better. And so that's why when you carefully go through these expenses, if you have them, you can then qualify. So therefore, you can take care of yourself and your household and not have to try to bury yourself to try to get out of some old debt that you had maybe when you were unemployed for a while or whatever the case may be.
And you alluded to this already, but either one of the tests, is that the kind of thing somebody should try to do themselves, the means test, or is this the thing that you really need somebody who knows the ins and outs?
Well, like I said, Rob, if you Google, if you put in your salary, you figure out the household size in your county and the threshold level, then you pretty much know, okay, well, now I just need to find an attorney for a Chapter 7, and there's not a whole lot of consideration. However, yes, if you are above that level, don't stop there and assume that you don't qualify, but rather call an attorney, have them say, what'll it take for me to go through this second part of the means test with you? We offer a special where we can take a certain amount down, typically $300, and we can take the last 6 months' income, do a full analysis, usually includes 2 consultations, and to determine, where you stand. And if you don't qualify for the 7, you do have remedies. Obviously, it doesn't stop there. Got Chapter 13, which is a debt reorganization plan. plan. You can just, if you've already, depending on the stage you're at with the creditor, we can begin to assist you with settling the debts as well. Because, if you don't qualify for the Chapter 7, you're not interested in the reorganization plan for whatever reason, then the debt settlement option is good. And it's better to use an attorney than some company, somebody local you can talk to, you can speak to, that will help you out, especially if you happen to get sued by one of the creditors.
So you mentioned a little while ago the Fresh Start bankruptcy. Tell me what that is. What does that mean?
Well, that is the best get out of debt plan, Rob. That is if you can pass the means test, if you can pass the both, if you fail the first, if you can pass essentially, one of the portions of the means test and get through it, you're out of debt without paying back any creditor at all, because under the law, you're not legally obligated to. That's what that means. I mean, you go through, it's people sometimes say, people always want to do the right thing. They want to repay their debt. But if you're not legally required to do so because you have expenses that authorize you to get this discharge, then that's what you're looking at is 90 days, you're out of debt. Your Fresh Start bankruptcy is done within 3 months. You can get back to a 700 credit score, but frankly, before the discharge is done, if not within a month or two afterwards.
Wow.
It hasn't always been that way now, but speaking in terms of, right now, it's a quick rebuild process. You get credit cards right away, and essentially you'll be off and running within 6 months to a year of that Chapter 7.
So touch on me again. What is the process? Someone wants to get the means test started with your office. What's that process like?
Well, just give me a call, and if we determine right away that you're sort of more of a complex means test, okay, and you do exceed that threshold level by not just a little bit, but enough where we're going to have to walk through it and probably talk to both spouses if there are two spouses and get detailed information for the last 6 months, then we can actually do a quick $300 retainer fee after that initial consultation, and then schedule a follow-up to then discuss the results of the means test and where you stand and where your options are without committing you one way or the other to anything.
Great. Lots of great information as always, David. Thank you so much for making some time to answer our questions.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
That'll do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been Dallas attorney David Shuster. Remember, if you want to ask questions about your specific situation, head over to AskTheLawyers.com. Go to the button at the top of the page that says Ask a Lawyer and click on that button, and you can do it right there. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with Ask the Lawyers.